In the article that accompanies this video, I tried my best to convince you that a mortgage, despite how it may seem, is actually not risky if we look at the definition of risk and sort of why that definition is what it is. So, returning to that, I just want to walk through the Excel table that I included and also just to revisit the definition of risk. So, Investopedia tells us here that is defined in financial terms as the chance that an outcome or investment's actual gains will differ from an expected outcome or return. Risk includes the possibility of losing some or all of an original investment. So, if we think about this in terms of a mortgage, um, the mortgage is not going to change here. The outcome or the return on the mortgage is exactly what you sign on in the beginning for your 30-year or 15-year period. It's going to be X amount of payments made monthly for X amount of years for X amount of dollars. So that's kind of different here because the mortgage isn't quite your return, but I want to focus on expected outcome. There's really no change in those payments, so the expected outcome isn't going to change. Now, here they get into a little more nuanced definition. Quantifiably, risk is usually assessed by considering historical behaviors and outcomes. So that's a little more complicated and is sort of like a stock market risk or maybe like a real estate market risk definition that I don't want to get into here. Now, I don't want to be facetious in saying that there's no risk with real estate. What I really want to show is that the mortgage component of the real estate investment is not risky. So in the Excel table, here's our inputs. We're going to buy a house for 100,000, put down 20%, which means our mortgage is 80. Our interest rate is 7. Our month's 360, so that is 30 years times 12 months. And then we can use an Excel formula to spit out our monthly payment here. And I can recreate this here real quick. So we're going to do equals payment. We put in our rate, it's 7. We're doing a monthly, so we're going to do divided by 12. We're going to do the number of periods, that's 360. Again, that's months times years, so that's this is going to spell out the monthly payment. And then the present value is $80,000. And here we have it. $532 is my monthly payment for 30 years of this mortgage. So again, that is not risky. I know exactly what the payment is going to be every single month for 30 years. That is the definition of predictable, and it is the opposite of a definition of risk. Why? Because we know exactly what's going to happen every single month for a set number of years. And here's my sort of facetious second part of the table. Our monthly predictable mortgage related cash flows. Why? Because I'm focusing on the predictability here. It's one thing if you invest in a stock and then all of a sudden new technology comes out and completely wipes out the market for the product that was tied to that stock. That's something that we can't really predict. In terms of housing, like, people are going to live in a house for the most part. And that's a second type of risk. That is maybe like market risk or neighborhood risk, right? You can't really um, predict what's going to happen geographically, but I'm focusing on the actual payments tied to the debt in the mortgage that you're using to purchase the real estate. And then we're gonna, well, all I did here is every single month I put in the monthly amount, right? So January is the same, February is the same, March, April, blah, 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 all the way to December. And not surprisingly, I could run this out for 30 years and it's gonna be exactly the same. So now all I have to do is put in the total annual, we'll call it debt service. So if I save up 6,386.90, or I'll round up to 387, that's exactly what the bank is going to request every single month. So, like if I have a W-2 job, it's a little less risky because I have income coming in, and ideally I could come up with savings to pay for my mortgage if something happened. If this is an investment property and you want to set up all of your investments and lower your risk, you just have to save up this number, the total annual amount, to get rid of your mortgage risk. Now, you still have tenant risk, you still have CapEx risk, which you should have another savings account for. Um, and then you still have that sort of broader macro geographic risk where maybe like an employer shuts down, so there's less demand for housing and your population declines, like in Cleveland where I am. But again, this is specifically mortgage risk. You should never be foreclosed on because you should always have this amount of savings for X number of years based on whatever your horizon is and however long you need to have that money coming in. And then in my real estate course, this is why we look at these other metrics. At the bottom here, I have my 6 months reserves. So when I do my pandemic fund, this is my CapEx plus my debt service, which is the mortgage, plus taxes, plus insurance, and that is 6 months. And then I also do all of the savings I should have before buying, and that is the total cash in, which is down payment plus repairs, plus my 6 months reserves. So before I even buy the house, I need to have a pretty significant amount of funds. And then for this article, I just extended the 6 months to 1 year. And then, like, if you're going to quit your job and you're trying to get to retirement, just double this number for whatever number of years it is where you may have risky income. So if I'm going to quit my W-2 and I don't have that supplemental income coming in, say for 2 years, say for 3 years, whatever it is that makes you comfortable, where you can know with certainty that you can pay this mortgage so that the bank doesn't come and foreclose on you and take the asset. The number one thing that cannot happen with real estate is you lose the asset because of a cash flow crisis, um, where you cannot pay the bank their debt service. So finally, here's the evidence that a mortgage is not risky. Just run your projected mortgage related cash flows, which is your monthly payment, sum it up for the year or for 2 years, three, four, five, save it, put it in a savings account, no risk, done. If you like this video, then find me and follow me on Twitter at Cleveland Curmudgeon. Check out my website, clevelandcurmudgeon.com, for real estate and personal finance articles. And finally, go to ccrealestateacademy.thinkific.com, where you can learn how to use Excel to analyze and offer on profitable real estate deals.